Hey everyone, welcome to the Fravor Project. If you love horror, movies, cult classics, and the occasional deep dive into movies that deserve a little more attention, you're in the right place. Today, I'm reviewing Bones, starring Snoop Dogg and the legendary Pam Grier. I finally sat down to watch it, and while I definitely had a good time, there were a few things that completely took me out of the movie. Let's get into it. First off, Bones is absolutely a movie of its time. And I mean that as a compliment. Personally, I love that dark, edgy, early 2000s aesthetic. The lighting, costumes, music, which we will talk about briefly, just screams early 2000s. Honestly, I wish we had gotten more Black movies with this kind of style. But despite the corny dialogue, and there are plenty of one-liners that had me dying, like, the gangsta of love don't eat no fried chicken. I'm sorry, what? That wild. But regardless, it never felt boring, and I was hooked the entire time. But let's talk about Snoop Dogg. Visually, he makes such a menacing villain. I mean, the long coat, the bust down, the way he carries himself, he just looks intimidating. On and off camera, to be honest with you, my mom always says that he looks like someone that if he tells you to jump, you just need to ask how high. Honestly, I'm surprised Snoop Dogg has never played a vampire. I feel like he has the right look for it, especially with the look he had in this movie. He has the look that I think Eddie Murphy was trying to have in the movie Vampire in Brooklyn. No shade, I do love that movie. But if you know, you know. I also have to give flowers to the practical effects team. That maggot scene, absolutely disgusting. I literally gagged when the guy picked up the pizza slice covered in maggots and ate it. Overall, the makeup, the props, practical effects, you know they really put in the work for that. The scene of the people covered in this tar-like material would have definitely gave me nightmares in the 2000s. Now, let's talk about where the movie kind of lost me. The plot. Despite it being visually a good movie, the plot just kind of threw me off the rails. Jimmy Bones is basically the neighborhood drug lord. He's well respected, he's feared, but people love him. Then he's given an opportunity to expand his territory and start selling this new product, but he refuses. He says he's happy staying where he is, and his henchman, Jeremiah Pete, is the one who's more, pushing for the power. Now, tell me if I'm wrong, but once this man pops up on your screen, you know he's evil. You know he's doing something shady. I've never seen this man play a good guy before, but we could talk about that later again. When I first watched this scene where Jimmy Bones said, "No, I don't want to expand. I love my neighborhood. I'm staying here," I immediately thought, wow, nice. Jimmy Bones is anti-gentrification. Maybe that's the vibe that we're going for. He wants to stay loyal to his community. But then reality kicked in, and I was like, wait, he's still a drug dealer. He's literally selling drugs to his community. So while he didn't deserve to die the way that he did, which of course, spoiler, he does die, that's the whole point of the movie, I also felt like the movie wanted me to see the officer, which I think his name is Officer Lupovich, if I'm pronouncing it right, and Eddie Mack as the main villains. But technically, Jimmy Bones is also a villain. He's just a good-looking, charismatic one. And I wish the movie leaned into that complexity a little more instead of acting like he was not necessarily saint, but kind of like he was betrayed. It's very much a product of his time, like I said, but I feel like there was more they could have done with that. And speaking of the betrayal, that's another thing that didn't really work for me. The movie wants us to believe that Pearl, played by the amazing Pam Grier, his bodyguard, and Jeremiah Pete all betrayed Jimmy. But in reality, they didn't. They were literally forced to stab him. It's either you stab him, who's going to die already because they just shot him, or you die. I mean, that's not really betrayal. That's just survival. And then after all that, they buried him underneath the house. So what exactly was the plan here? The whole sequence just didn't make sense to me. I thought maybe it would be like, hey, we all killed him, so the investigators won't know who actually killed him. That's why all of our handprints are on the knife. But there was no investigation because the officer just said, hey, I'll cover it up. And if there was one, y'all shot him anyways. So the whole scene was just super unnecessary. And as much as we're making Jeremiah Pete the villain, once you see him on screen, you know he's up to some slimy stuff. I don't really think he was a villain in this story. I guess the way he made the deal with the officer to keep everything hush-hush, it does seem like he wanted Jimmy Bones to die. but I think he just wanted to kind of run his own business. He saw an opportunity and took it. I don't know, am I wrong? I know there's this whole loyalty thing that a lot of people value, and I value it too, but in a case like that where you're a drug lord, I mean, I don't really see this as a betrayal. Aside from that, and it's kind of funny, we're not even talking about the main characters, because to be honest, they're okay. I think Snoop Dogg and Pam Grier honestly stole the movie, but they're kind of just, they're there, which is whatever. There are so many little moments that had me asking, why did they do that? Like, for example, the choice in music. Yes, Snoop Dogg did have some songs on the album and in the movie that he made specifically for the movie, but what the hell were they playing in the club scene? I don't even know if I'm allowed to play it. I don't think I found it. I'll maybe try to add a snippet in. But literally, I was sitting watching this movie and I heard this and I'm just like, huh? Especially seeing the type of people that were dancing to this type of music. I don't know, that just took me out of it. Maybe it's just me. And also the scene that really felt like WTF was the scene where Cynthia, who is Pearl's daughter, decides to spend the night at the house. At this point, I already figured out that Jimmy Bones was her father. And the movie also confirms it later. So why was his ghost groping her in her sleep? My guy, that's your daughter. And this was never explained or acknowledged. Eventually she finds out that, yeah, this is my father. But they never talked about, hey, I'm your dad and I'm the ghost of the house. And you thought this guy was touching you, but it was actually me, your father. Like, I get it. It's meant to be scary and creepy. Like, that's what movies do when they have ghosts. But it just felt weird knowing that that's her father. And I'm very nitpicky, so maybe I'm nitpicking a little bit. But that kind of took me out of it in terms of plot. Despite all of my complaints, I actually enjoyed this movie. It's stylish, it's gross, but it has a lot of great practical effects. And honestly, Snoop Dogg really makes a great villain. This isn't necessarily a masterpiece. It's not something that I will say to write home about, per se, in my opinion. But it's definitely a fun, casual horror watch. Especially if you're into that early gothic 2000s horror aesthetic. I definitely recommend checking it out if you're looking for a casual watch. And if your psychic girlfriend tells you not to do something, you listen.